But I am very, very excited to be here with you all. I bring an outside perspective. And from outside, I mean, I was a wealth manager before. Just about a year and a half ago. This is all brand new for me. In fact, like many of you, I heard just a few days ago, you were all asked. Well, someone came and asked me. I wasn't looking for a job. I was happy where I was. In fact, I was comfortable. For all you religious out there, comfortable is a bad word, right? I got to make myself uncomfortable, but I was comfortable. In fact, I thought I had found the perfect team where I had the perfect niche. I worked on estate planning and business succession planning, and that's where I wanted to be my whole career, and I was there, and I was happy. And then came the ask, and it turned me into a bit of a whirlwind. Why would they ask me? What is this? What does wealth management have anything to do with philanthropy? In fact, that's probably what you're thinking right now. Well, I'm with you. At first, I'm like, it has nothing to do with it. Now I think it has everything to do with it. Now, many of you have heard about me coming and talking today and are wondering, how can he actually talk about some of these subjects? Many of you are brand new. Many of you, perhaps this is going to be, you think you've heard it before and all this is. Just give me a little time. Give me this hour. Just for the next hour, I want you to suspend that part of your brain that just tell it to that it can't be done, that it's not possible. As Catholics, we've never done it this way. I can't do it. I'm brand new. Just, my wife and I, we homeschooled up until high school, and we had what we called the quiet game. And it worked for a few years where we'd have the kids, we'd say, look, whoever stays quiet the longest wins. So right now, if you would please, give this an opportunity. Non-cash gifts. I've never spoken just behind the podium, so I'm going to keep moving, but I'll come back so you can hear me. Cash. Non-cash. Thank you very much. Now you know why they had me here for the afternoon session. Yesterday, they kept everything really, really cold so you stood awake, but now they have it warm because they know I'm going to be here. Look, a person's net worth, only 3% of it is in cash. But as Catholics, we ask people for whatever's in their pocket plus the lint. If I passed around a hat, even if I told you a great story today, you'd maybe have $20 in your pocket, maybe 50, 100. When meanwhile, you're sitting on 97%. So what is that 97%? Your retirement accounts, public and private stock, personal residence, real estate investments, business interests. Oh, great. Are you going to be stealing little old ladies' houses? No. Maybe. Now look at this. But they'll get something for it. Look at this. I know Peter sort of talked about this earlier, but look at the wealth transfer that's coming. This tsunami of wealth. That's a lot. That's a lot. But you know what? We want to ask people for $20 and $50 and $100. Let me tell you who's not asking for $50 and $20. In Orange County, in the year 2022, the Hoag Hospital Foundation received the largest gift of $106 million. That's the right zero. That's a comma, not a period at the end of that. $106 million. The next largest gift was Providence Healthcare Systems at $53 million. Hoag again at 50. On and on. Now, let me ask you one question for those of you who can see this. What's wrong with this picture? Where's the church? All the way down to $7 million for Providence Healthcare System. Where's the church in 2022? Now, I don't just see that as a problem. I see it as an opportunity. When I explain to people that $106 million is not cash from their checking account. It's assets. It's from the 97. We have to learn to talk about the 97%. Kathleen and I were at a finance council meeting talking this very same thing that I'm talking to you today. And one of the folks said, yeah, I know, I'm on the Hogue committee, and that we accepted that gift of 106. It was a property. So, this is where it starts getting a little tricky. As a church, we don't normally talk about taxes, we don't normally talk about money, but today we're going to try a little bit. Remember suspending that little shh? So in California, a lot of times we talk about what are the benefits for donors for this, and by the way, a lot of times we'll speak about what the benefit is for our charity, but we never talk about what the benefit is to the donor. This can be a win-win. This isn't just an either or. We both can win in this situation. Now, let's just go through a little explanation. We all know what ordinary income tax is. We look at the top federal rate. Most people forget, if you're not in California, the people in California don't forget, look at our California state tax for the top rate is. Add those two together. I did it for you. That's over 51%. So for ordinary income tax, for the people who are in the top tax bracket, they're paying more than 50% of that income in tax. Do you think that's a problem that they'd like a solution to? Now, when we talk about capital gains, which is when you hold an asset for longer than 12 months, and then you go to sell it, most people just think about the 20% Fed. Read any of the books that you have when they talk about planning, they'll say the Fed rate's 20%, except they forget to add that the Obama tax, also known as the net investment income tax, added 3.8%. So the Fed rate is actually almost 24%. Then the state of California, who now this year does not distinguish between ordinary income tax and capital gain, why would you? Just make it easy on them to take 14.4% and call it a day. So capital gains is 38.2%. Again, this is a problem. This is a problem that wealthy people have. They look for solutions for this. Every day in an office of a financial advisor, a CPA, an attorney, a real estate commercial broker, someone comes in and says, I'm going to have a problem. I'm planning to sell X. And I'm going to get a big tax bill. I'd like you to come up with a solution. Now, is charitable planning the solution to everything? No. It's just one arrow in the quiver of what we have. But the reality is most advisors aren't comfortable with it. Either they don't want to show bias, or it takes a lot of time to talk about it. As a CPA, I can just keep churning my returns and make money that way, as opposed to spending the kind of time it takes to talk about charitable planning. Or they don't know because it's a little bit of a specialized field. But I assure you, when you sit with a business owner or a wealthy family and you tell them, hey, would you like to hear an idea of how you can save on tax? Not one of them has ever said no. Not one. And now you know why. Now keep this in mind as we go through. So what's in it for the donor? Well, they're looking to maximize their deduction. They may also be looking to maximize their income. How can I actually make more money from my investment? We don't think about that often. And then what's in it for the charity? How do I maximize the donation? How can I maximize the dollar? As opposed to asking for more, what if I told you you can get a 30 or 40% increase by just saving them in the tax? Boy, I'm promising a lot this talk, aren't I? And I know, I started yelling. I told you that would happen. This gets me excited. I know we talked about the IRA, but I want you to really, really look at it. And I don't know if everyone really understands this. This is free money. Now, when we start looking at some of these financial concepts, I promise you, I made them very, very simple. I made them close to the scenario, right? I oversimplified on some of these that are coming up. And I know that sounds like, look, you go to a surgeon, a heart surgeon, and he says, listen, I'll get you close to the heart, but, this is going to get us close to the heart. All right. Inside of an IRA, once you reach the age of 70, you heard this, but you're allowed up to $108,000 out of your IRA at 70 and a half. That means you can take out that $108,000 or any denomination below and not pay any tax on it. How does that benefit the donor? It benefits the donor because if I have, to make it easy, $100,000 I'm going to pull out, and I did the top rate at ordinary income tax, that's going to net me $48,600. I paid that other 52 or 51 and change in tax. It went away. Now, it also causes another problem for them. Not only did I pay that $51,000 in tax, but you just gave me more income. So now it maybe bumps me up to another tax bracket. So it hurts me in two ways. Now, what's the advantage to the church? Well, it's that simple. $100,000 from your IRA, the church gets $100,000. Donor does not pay the tax on the $100,000, and it doesn't bump up their income for that year. You solve a lot of problems. It's that simple. By the way, I'm okay with you guys asking questions throughout my presentation. So if something you don't understand, please ask. The benefits of gifting stock. Now, I know part of you may be thinking, you know what? We deal with very wealthy people. They know this. They know this sort of thing. They've got a ton of advisors. They don't. The benefits of gifting stock. So I'm using an easy example. You have a stock that's worth $2,000 when you bought it. So you spent $2,000 for it. It's now worth $22,000. That means you have $20,000 capital gain. So when you take the numbers before, that means I'm paying $7,600 in tax. So the charity gets $14,000 and change. If you donate the stock to me, you don't sell it, me the charity, me the church, if you donate me the stock and then I sell it, the church gets the full $22,000. Because the church, I don't pay the tax. The donor gets the fair market value for the deduction. So their deduction off of their taxes is actually $22,000. Over here, their deduction is only $14,000. Church gets more. We didn't ask for more. The donor gets a higher deduction. It's a win-win. When I tell people, if we could not save you any money in tax, but you can carve out what you're going to pay in some of that tax and send it to your favorite charity, would you? They absolutely say yes. Not one of them have ever said, oh, no, I would like to send it to Gavin Newsom. Not one of them. That's a big difference, folks. Now, many of our pastors, and by the way, at the end, I'm going to give you easy steps things that Kathleen and I have been doing throughout the diocese, how to do this, how to work with folks. It's all coming. But I just want you to understand this first. Why we're so excited about it, why we think it relates, why we have to change our mentality, why we have to change our culture about how we think. By the way, everything applies that you've heard today and yesterday. I love Jesus. I'm doing this because of Jesus and the church. It's meaningful for me, but this is just a little more that we should know. So, we've been going around talking to pastors. Most of them say, well, that's not going to work here. Well, we don't have the right demographics for it. We finally found one brave pastor who said, he's young, energetic, into new ideas. He says, okay, talk to me. What do I need to say? Father, you just need to start mentioning it. Put it in your bulletin. Start talking about it for your capital campaign. At the end, do pulpit announcements. And all you have to say is, we now accept gifts from your retirement accounts of stock and of real estate. Does that sound pretty simple enough? Is there anything complicated about that? No. I have a sheet here that we told them to put in their bulletin. So I have a bunch of handouts that are in the back. So they're all for you to take. You can utilize this. Just put your names on it if you want. Well, you have to. Don't put our names on it. It's right here. Okay, so let me explain to you what happened. We started working with this pastor in June, or July rather, of 2024. So we went through the numbers. In 2023, that church had 2 donors who had donated stock for the total of $20,000. At the end of 2024, he had 22 donors that had given, more donors that gave the prior year, $900,000 in value. That was with 6 months worth of the support. Was it anything magical that we said? No, it's getting better. Promise, don't leave. It's really getting better. Oh, good. Good. We didn't say anything magical. The priest wasn't funny, trust me. You were funny, Father, yesterday, I gotta have to admit, but most. It was that simple. It was just the introduction. So what am I saying here? Think of this. I keep wanting to move. Think of this. They either don't know what the benefit is to them, or they do know, they just don't know that the church can do it. Yes?
I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but is this possible from any investment account, or is it only like active brokerage accounts, or is it just from?
Great, no, that's not going in the weeds. That's a great question. So for retirement accounts, specifically an IRA, this doesn't apply. The qualified charitable distribution rule applies, okay? And when you do a qualified charitable distribution, it comes out in cash. You can do that. There's no tax. This is the concept of like asset. So whatever the asset is, like asset, and move it, don't sell it, move it to the church. Like asset to like asset. That's it. Anything that's highly appreciated that you would sell and pay tax on can be given. Now the question is, can we sell it? Do we think it's worth it to sell it? What are the rules and all that kind of stuff? So in terms of this, it's any non-retirement account, because they're in a retirement account, they've given you the tax break to put it in there, and it's grown tax-free. So then, any account. Okay, we're not even talking, this is not donor advised fund, this is a stock, like asset to like asset. Okay, good enough? Moving on. Now we're going to get a little bit more complicated, but really not that much. So you guys are into stories, I heard. This doesn't have a sad ending, though, nor a sad beginning. Well, kind of. So go sit with a couple, and in their situation, they are in their early 80s, and they own a $1.5 million fourplex. Now, they own several. They've accumulated properties over the years. You're going to run into a lot of this. They've held it for a lot of years, so it's going to be highly, highly appreciated. So they've paid down the debt. They have no debt on it. Let's just use the cost basis, which is what you determine your taxes on. We don't need to get fancy. Let's just call it zero. That means the whole amount's going to be taxable. Okay, now, he's making about he's making about $60,000 a year in income from the rent. And he's like, that's terrible. Let me tell you how terrible that is. If you had $1.5 million in a CD today at 5%, he would be making $75,000 in income. So his $60,000 dealing with what realtors call the terrible T's, dealing with tenants, dealing with toilets, and dealing with taxes. And he's only making $60,000. But why doesn't he sell it? Because if he sells it, he's going to pay, look at that number, almost $600,000 in taxes. That means if he sold it and put it in a portfolio, he'd only put about $900,000 in the portfolio. At 6% interest, he'd make $55,000. You get it? The property did really well, but it's in a bad area now. But I don't want to sell it because of the tax. Okay. Do we have any ideas for them? Don't worry about the names. All right? Forget the names for a moment. Just think about this. What if I told you, now look at me, I'm a fourplex. What if I moved it into a trust and then here I sell it? Okay, what if? So if I'm here, I pay taxes. If I move it over here, I don't pay taxes when I sell it. And I get a deduction for moving it over here. Isn't that nice? Now I sell it, I get the whole $1.5 million. Now I invest $1.5 million in stock portfolio at 6%. The donor says, look, I'm in my 80s. I don't know if I'm going to live longer than, maybe a few more years, but my wife is younger than me. How about you give me income for the next 10 years at $90,000? Well, he didn't have to pick, he just wanted $90,000. He didn't want more. He was charitably minded. He's like, I'm okay if I leave something to the church after. I just don't want to pay Uncle Sam the $600,000. Well, in this scenario, he took the same property, he moved it into the trust, he sold it, he got $90,000 more in income, and he left after 10 years guaranteed. That means his wife, and then it'll go on to his heirs, will get that $90,000. And then the church gets the $1.5 million. He gets a deduction for putting it in there, and then he doesn't pay any capital gains tax. Remember what I said, just for the moment. Reserve that little voice in your head that's saying, I can't talk about this, I can't. Just give me a little bit more time. I'll give you another example. This is that little old lady that we're talking about that we're going to steal their houses from. Catholic Church steals houses from old ladies. She owned $1 million second home, vacation home. Now, you guys aren't from California, but we have what we call mountains. It's more of a hill, but that's where they go on vacation. You guys have real mountains, Colorado, all that sort of thing, but we've got Big Bear. The house is in Big Bear. It was really windy to get up there. Well, she's like, my husband passed away. I used to go with him. I don't have any children. I'm not going to take that windy road up there. I've been blessed. I'm going to sell that second home, and from the proceeds, I'm going to give you $150,000. Now, if someone tells you that, what do you say? Thank you. God bless you. And all the other things you heard this morning and yesterday. But there may be another idea. Because if she sells that, pays the full tax at that capital gain, she would pay almost $400,000 in taxes. Then she gives the $150,000. Her donation is only $150,000 that she can deduct from her taxes. Let me give you another idea. Now, I'm the cabin up in the mountains. Instead of giving the whole thing, I give some of it. It's called a fractional share. I give just a portion of it. Well, how does that work? Well, if before she sells it, she donates 40% of that property to the church, what has she done? She's bypassed 40% of the capital gain. Her gift, her deduction is $400,000 because that's the fair market value for it. And the church gets $400,000. That same $150,000 gift becomes $400,000. Yes. No. Great question. The question was, does it have to be, that certain percentage, like 40%? No, it could be anything. In fact, when we sit down to have that conversation, it's all about what do you want to accomplish? You're looking to maximize your deduction. You're looking to give the church as much as you can, and Uncle Sam as least as you can. Like, what are you trying to do? Do you want income from it? They say, no, I'd like to give that 100. So this is an example of what we call net zero tax, where we figured out that it's about the same in terms of what they would have in their pocket. So it's 40% for this example, but it could be 20%, it could be 10%, it could be 60%. They gave a portion of property to the charity. Now, a lot of times, yes, sir.
I'm not smart. I'll put it that way. I'm just not smart. It's 40% of that house go to charity.
Yeah. Good. No, it's a great question. Yeah. No. Thank you. In fact, that's actually a very smart question. Very smart question. There are no dumb questions. Only dumb people. That's what I usually. Come on, guys. This is a religious event. Don't make fun of the people in the audience. That's a little voice in my head. I got to go, shh. It's an excellent question. In fact, most people don't realize you can donate fractional shares of a property. That's it. You can donate fractional shares of property. It's allowed. You can give your children 50% of your property if you'd like. You can give them 25%. You can give the church a percentage of your property. Why would you do that? Well, you get a bigger tax deduction, right? This is the simple part. I wanted you to believe me by doing the math, but now this is all you got to know. Yeah, wait, I haven't answered the gentleman. Yeah, dumb questions take a long time to it's that the answers are. I'm sorry, now no one's going to ask questions. I honestly am kidding. I am honestly kidding. And thank you for playing along. What's your name? Nick. Is that really your name, or did you just? So, it's just before you donate, let's take a look to see how you can benefit in a different way. That's all it is. Okay? And so, is this right for them? Is this good? What does it take to do this? What kind of advisors do you have to hire to be able to do this? Those are all great questions. But for now, it's possible. 40%, some percentage. And there's a benefit. It's a win-win. Okay. Is this a good one?
This might take even longer.
Oh.
I'm trying to figure out the benefit of this versus just putting the whole thing in a trust. Is it purely just?
No, in this, great question. That just means you weren't listening earlier, but you wonder how I get asked back to do this stuff, huh? If you're so mean to the audience. No, we're trying to have a little fun here. That's all it is. Because it's hot. Anyone else hot in here? It was cold yesterday, and it's really hot today. What was your question again? No, no, I know what it is. It's this thing. I got it. Think of it this way. It's all about what does the donor want to accomplish? In this scenario, they want to get something from it, right? They don't want to give the whole amount away. They would just like to give some of it away, right? So if she wanted to give 150 away, well, here's a way you can have the same amount in your pocket, but give more to the church, because who's getting cut out? Gavin Gruesome. Yeah. Thank you. Who got the Gavin Gruesome part? Thank you very much. Great question. And you know what the answer is? Actually, please, everyone, I want you to practice with me. All right? When someone says they're interested in giving you something, I would like you to say, yes. Always yes. We'll worry about the rest later. But yes. The answer is yes. Now, do we have to study it? Do we have to do an analysis? Do we have to figure out if it's in an LLC and it's taxed? Yeah, we got to figure all that stuff out. But let the donor sit with the concept that maybe they can cut out Uncle Sam. They love that. They love that. So, not you again, Nick. No, I'm coming back. I'm just now, I'm just using you as a prop. You know that. I owe you a beer. So the answer is yes, simply, right? We don't want to overcomplicate it. And remember, we're not giving the advice, right? We're not giving the advice. We're going to give them to people who know how to do this, and we'll give them the advice. But for now, we want them to understand as a concept. There may be more. Should we find out more? Let's find out more. Yes, right? So, yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Situations where somebody either has an IRA
Mm-hmm.
or they're selling a house or something like that, I bring it to somebody and somebody mentions, well, it's not taxed up to a certain amount and doesn't reach that threshold. And I'm left with some of these things and I'm like, this is exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But then half the time,
Yeah, that's great. No, excellent question. Now, part of what you're talking about is not taxed up to a certain amount, could be what their cost basis is, so what they paid for it, right? So what you're really looking for is highly appreciated, someone who's been holding it a long time, okay? That means they're going to owe more in tax. You don't have to know that. You just say, are you going to pay a lot in tax? And the person's going to say, yeah, that's it. It's that simple. In fact, they normally will tell you. They want to tell you, I'm going to be paying a lot in tax. That's all you just have to listen for trigger words. We've got trigger words we'll show you at the end. So we say, oh, I hear this word. Ah, you're paying a lot in tax? Well, come here. Let me tell you a story. So then, it could be if there's a personal residence, right? Personal residence. I don't have this example here, but we're talking about stealing from little old ladies. I was at an event like this. We gave a presentation, and a person thought they were really, really smart and stood up and said, I donated my house. He was trying to encourage other people to do this sort of thing. He says, I donated my house when I die, and you guys should too. And I was like, wait a second. Normally you would say, oh, congratulations. But we're thinking differently now. I asked him a question. What's the benefit to you for donating your house when you pass? He says, well, nothing. I mean, the benefits, I'm giving it to the church, right? What if I told you that the IRS allows you to make arrangements in advance, and while you're living, get the benefit for what you're going to do in the future? You mean I can actually use it for my taxes today, for something I'm going to do when I'm dead? Yeah. You can. That's the point. There are so many, I can't, I don't have enough time. Peter told me, he said, look, I thought you did a great presentation, but about halfway through it gets boring. And I'm just kidding, it didn't get boring. This is exciting all the way through. But the point is, there are 100 different examples of this sort of thing, right? We just have to get excited that there's possibilities, right? Do you want the benefit? Let's not think of this. Change your mentality, change the culture. This is not a death gift. This has nothing to do with death. This has everything to do with benefiting while you're alive. Now, some of you don't look alive, but it can benefit you. I know it's been a long day. Yes, sir.
I love your initiative, but this is too much work for a small or medium company.
Yeah, excellent. And we'll get into that because I think I have the answer to that. But let me just give you a couple more examples. Someone help me on time, though. What time is it? Huh?
4:10.
I've already spoke 36 minutes? Holy, you guys have too many questions. No. See, again, sorry, Nick. It's back to you. Yeah. No. There's so much more. You want to see me do this again, huh? What's the benefit? Oh, capital gain? Well, in this example, if it's $1 million it's worth, and I say it's got no cost basis and no debt on it, then it's about $400,000 that they pay in tax. Now, that all being said, remember, CPAs and advisors, we have other ideas of how they can lower this. But the fact is, no one's advocating for the church. That's my point. The advisor isn't going to give these ideas. If they do, right, they don't want to show bias. Maybe they don't understand it too well. Maybe it's going to take a long time. They want them to get out of the office. They don't want to hear about their kids that aren't going to church. They don't want to hear about, so, right? But that's what we do. That's what we love to do. It's ministry. I know I've been talking about numbers, but it's ministry, right? We just have to kind of recognize that there's so much that's possible and listen for trigger words and then be able to help them by getting them to people that know. You see it makes sense? Yes, ma'am. That's exactly right. But in this example, the church doesn't own. Well, actually, not this one. In this one, the church doesn't own it. It's a separate trust. A lot of times when people are like, "Hey, I'm afraid of creditors, either for the churches or ours, that could get to this." This isn't owned by anybody. It's owned by its own entity. It's got its own separate tax return. It's arm's length away. And secondarily, the donation part this donation happens when they die, right? The church gets it, but now it's getting a significant amount. And they wouldn't normally give the church 1.5 million, but they're doing it because they get a deduction today for it, plus they can sell it for no capital gains. It echoes in here. I've always wanted to be a Baptist preacher. I mean, it's Friday, Sundays are coming. So in this example, I go for the joke and then I forget what I'm saying. So in this example, it's coming to me. Wait, the guy's juggling back there. Go ahead, show him. Look at that. That's how interesting my talk is today for you folks. So, you don't even have, I know, I remember it now. Just looking at your face, I remember it. You don't even have to be charitably minded to want to talk about this. Does that get recorded anyway? Shoot. Yes.
If a donor makes an installed transfer to the charity,
Uh-huh.
is there any rule when the charity needs to sell that stone at timeline? And then for tax management, let's say we sell that stone.
Well, so, but, and I'm only stopping you because one, I don't want you to get caught up in the weeds. There are a lot of variations, okay? I just want you to understand conceptually, there's a lot folks can do, right? And that there may be better ways. Shouldn't we research it? Shouldn't we do an analysis? Shouldn't we talk to somebody, right? One of the reasons people don't do this is because, and as philanthropy officers, we don't do this because we don't understand. And if we're not confident, how could the donor ever be confident? Secondarily, the donor will never do anything that they don't understand. If we make the donor feel stupid, then they're not going to do it because nobody wants to feel stupid, right? But the reality is if you understand the basic benefit, which is you'd like to give this, or you'd like to get, we had pastors who said, someone came to us and wanted to give us a house, and they said, sell it and then give us the cash after. And I said, Father, how many people did that? They're like, no one, none. But that's what they advised us to do because we don't, if we can't, if the pastor can't see they can use it for a rectory or use it, they want to keep it. They think their diocese sometimes advises them that way. Just give us the cash. The donor doesn't do it. They go find another charity that will accept it because they're usually doing it for tax reasons, right? Why is the largest checks coming? I see you, Father, and trust me, I want that get out of purgatory free card that you could give me. So I'll come to you. But why is it at Merrill Lynch and all these other financial institutions the largest checks go out in December to charities? It's not Hanukkah and it's not Christmas. It's the end of the tax year for them. Yes, Father.
With all of this, just a suggestion. I post twice a year. That's usually your rural area. But I've got all the attorneys and all the accountants and everyone that does the planning with the parishioners and donors. So I post a happy hour with top shelf drinks and really good hors d'oeuvres. And I give them all the information of every endowment and every way they could help any of their customers, which are my parishioners, give to the church and the schools.
Spoiler alert, that was going to be my ending. But you're exactly right, Father. That's the point, is and then we will get a little bit more into that. But I'm going to finish up. Because you always hear about the donor advised fund. And everyone gets the donor advised fund. But I want to give you just another taste of something else. Then we'll get into the ending, the good part, the cream on the top. So donor advised fund is very simple. My CPA tells me I need to give away $400,000 this year. That's a good problem to have. I want to give $400,000 this year, but I don't want to give the whole $400,000 because I don't know. I mean, the priest will take them on vacations or their bill, whatever they think, right? It goes into the bishop's slush fund or whatever. They're like, I'd rather give it in smaller portions. That's fine. You take that $400,000, you put it in a donor advised fund, right? And now it doesn't belong to you anymore, but it continues to grow in that, and then you can give it however you want. You can give it once a year, 10 times a year, $1, 400,000, the whole thing. Doesn't matter how you do it. Donor advised fund allows you to do that. Now and so that's great. But sometimes people go, you know what? I don't want to give the $400,000 away today because then do I get it back? Well, that should be a little trigger word and say, well, what if? And then you got it back. Wouldn't that be interesting? Well, that's what this is. So I'm going to move quickly so there's lots that can happen. Now let's get to what Father was saying. So how did we get started at the parishes? Well, Kathleen and I have been taking a tour of Orange County. We have 58 parishes. We've probably visited about 30, talking to the pastors. It was a long road to hope. I will tell you that. But it's gained steam, especially now that we've been starting to get results. And so what were we doing? We started talking to the pastor. We started talking to the deacons. We started talking to the finance councils. We started talking to the ministries. Started put it in the bulletin. We started creating, both Kathleen and I co-author a faith, family, and finance article that we post on our LinkedIn. Every 2 weeks, we post in our Catholic paper. It's all on these little concepts that we do. We have a one sheet now that we've developed so we can leave the one sheet. Most people don't know, what can the foundation do for them? They have no idea what we do. What is the foundation? Most people hadn't heard of the foundation. You saw that thing in the beginning. We've been around 25 years. They didn't know what the foundation was. Right? How can we help you? We have to bring a lot of value to the donor, not just spiritually. I'm just saying there's a lot more value we can bring than just spiritually. And that we don't have to be financial advisors to be able to do that, but we could get friends and friendly with some financial advisors. So by the way, these are all things that we put back there for ideas for you to take home and make your own. So please take advantage of that. Secondarily, what we did, I need time again. What was the time? 4:20? I got 10 more minutes. Okay. We started an advisory firm. We started an advisory committee for the Orange Catholic Foundation. It's comprised of, we have our governance board, and now we have this committee of advisors. They're all financial advisors that understand this concept. They're finance advisors, they're CPAs, they're attorneys, and now they help us to communicate the message. When donors want to talk about this sort of thing, we have someone that we can refer them to. They're happy because they're getting a referral. They're happy to actually talk to them without charging them because they're Catholic and they want to also do good work for the church. But we're building these networks. So right now in Orange County, we have our own advisory network that we can go to. We also have a real estate advisory board that we're having our first meeting in a week or two. We're building this network for our Catholic community. And it wasn't until we were here that we realized, well, this might be great for the folks in Orange County, but the reality is maybe some of these sisters that are in areas where they may not have advisors, why aren't we building a national advisory group of Catholic advisors who know how to do this, who are willing to take a call from our donors, who are willing to take a call from you, so that can help the church to now be in the dollars, not in the pennies. It's a great idea, isn't it? Don't be that excited. I mean, the guy in the back, he dropped one of his, what do you call it? He stopped juggling. He was so excited. I think it's possible. I'm telling you, we can do it. And there's a big value to us doing it because, well, I'll tell you why, because of this. Do you know who is doing it? Hogue, Providence, universities. If we're not talking to them about it, they are. It's that simple. People are doing it. People are talking about these things. They're utilizing it. We aren't. So as a church, we have to change our, it was not because we haven't done this before. Back to your executive director, I understand. But the reality is it's happening. And if we just learn to have basic conversation, which is, hey, don't sell something without talking to somebody first. That's not that hard. If you're going to pay a lot of tax, really, you should take a look at it. You like your church, don't you? You like your pastor. Well, maybe not, but that's all it is. So what are the trigger words? Let's get to the trigger words. Money in motion. I'm thinking about selling a property. I'm thinking about selling my business. I'm getting ready to retire. I'm going to have a high tax year. I'm talking to my attorney now about how to transfer my assets to my heirs. Do people talk about this with their pastors and their deacons? Yeah, you bet they do. Is there a pastoral reason why we should be having this conversation? Absolutely. Stuff that I haven't talked about. We don't have time to talk about it. Kathleen Hurt, who's the vice president of the Orange Catholic Foundation, has a whole other presentation that we've been giving on some of the metrics and some of the other things we're doing that we'd love to share another time with you. Poor lady had to come here just to listen to me again. So please be sure to pat her on the back and tell her thank you. But these are the trigger words. That's it. It's not that complicated. Questions? Yes. I have to go to Father. There's a hierarchy in the Catholic Church, you know, and if Pope Francis were here, I'd go with him first. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, big one.
But I will say it's becoming much more difficult.
Yeah.
In conversations with Christians, they have this mentality that it has to go to their kids.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I forget who it was, but the priest who said, look, you should think of the church as one of your children. Just divvy it up, right? There's different things, but it's hard to convince somebody, right? I think I heard even people talk about that. But usually the conversations I try to have, even my prior life, was if you don't pass on the values and just the money, you're going to hurt them, at worst, kill them. And they know it's true. Because once you start digging in, this is the pastoral side of it. This is where we get serious. But the fact is, they have a big business. They know my kids can't run this business. Or I only have one daughter who can run it. The others, you know, will smoke it or blow it up their nose. I mean, this is tough. I have alcoholic children, right? These are serious things that we hear. So they understand that. So part of it is also framing, right? Because they know. What's the old adage? Grandpa and grandma ran the farm or ran the machine shop making widgets. They got dirt under their nails. The second generation became doctors and lawyers. The third generations are snow bunnies. If you don't pass on the values, they don't have the work. Why is it that 85% of all the people that win in a lottery will be bankrupt within 5 years? If they didn't go through the hard work of earning the money and they didn't have the values for it, it actually hurts them rather than help them. You know, and other questions? And yes?
Quick question with that. The tax incentive is, if this is correct, is only for the tax year that you create DAF, no additional tax.
The DAF? Are you talking about the DAF? Yeah, that's the reason why you do a DAF. The reason you do a DAF is saying, I need $400,000 deduction today, but I don't want to give it all away. I'm giving it all away because I'm putting it in the DAF, but I'm not giving it to the charities or charities all at once. I'm going to give it to them little by little. People use that as an opportunity to teach their kid values of philanthropy, because now they put the kids on the board of their DAF, their personal DAF, and say, you guys help me to pick. Every year, let's select who we're going to pick. Let's walk through. You choose, right? And so, but I want that donation. I need that donation today. I need that deduction today. And that's why you do it. Yes? Yeah, I feel great about it. I haven't lost any sleep. Yes?
Okay, can you explain about this preparing for retirement? What does that trigger in your mind?
Oh, retiring? Yeah, excellent. That's when people are starting to make those decisions. That's also where they're thinking of the big picture. What does it all mean? What if I die after 6 months on the golf course? after I retire because I don't have meaning and purpose, right? It's usually when they start thinking about that. But also, that's usually when they start thinking, am I going to sell my business? What about my retirement assets? I have concentrated, there's so many things we haven't talked about. I have concentrated stock. I was the secretary at IBM, not IBM, Microsoft, when it first started, and I got free stock. Now it's worth $1 gazillion, but it's all in Microsoft. If Microsoft goes away, I've lost everything. I have to diversify. Bingo. Right? I'm getting ready to retire. I don't know what you get what I'm saying? So that's why, yeah. You usually retire means I might move. I'm going to move, I may downsize, right? Yes? Charitable gift annuities, yeah. Here's a simple fact, and I'm only going quick because of the time. People over the age of 65 purchase annuities left and right, to the tune of trillions of dollars in the US, okay? Advisors hate annuities. They hate them. They'll tell you that, except for the ones that are getting the commission. But folks like it. Why do they like it? Because it gives them surety. Get a payment for the rest of my life, no matter how long I live. I'm never going to outlive my money, as long as I live a long time, right? The fact is, did you know that you can sell an annuity through the church? So what's they shop it around. When you go buy an annuity, you shop it around. How about just including the church as part of your shopping it around? See if you can get a better return from your charitable annuity that you can get from your church. That's the answer. We got to start talking about it. Yes? All right. Well, my name was Anthony Vultaggio. If you did not like my presentation, my name is Peter DeCarity. Don't forget,